Hello everybody. So as you can tell, today we have a little bit of a different situation going on here. I'm currently in my car. If some of you guys saw my post yesterday, there was a big storm here in Dallas where I live. My power is out. My internet was out until basically last night, so I couldn't put out any content yesterday. So today, there was an OTA practice where the media was there, and so I have some updates to share with you guys. It's a little bit different situation, but my power is out, can't use my camera. I'm not even sure how long it'll take to post this video, so hopefully this actually can make it through my shaky internet currently, but that is how it's going to go today. And so as I said, today was day 5 of Packers OTAs. This is the second day that reporters were there, so we actually have some insights into what was happening. The other day was earlier last week. I already made a video on that one. We haven't seen, we don't get updates when the practice is not open to reporters, obviously. And so today it was. And first off, from Ryan Wood, here's some players who were not participating. Last week, everyone besides Robert Rochelle was at practice. He was excused for a personal reason. And Matt LaFleur was talking about just the impact of having all those guys there. Everyone bought in. This week, or at least at today's practice, 3 veterans were not present. Elton Jenkins, Rashawn Gary, and Preston Smith were not at practice today. These are voluntary OTAs, so they don't have to show up. It's not like it's mandatory minicamp, which will be happening later in June. And honestly, for these kind of things, I think it's better if everyone's there because you build that chemistry. When you have a new defense, I think it's nice to have the veteran players there to set the tone and learn from and learn the system together. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it's better to have everyone present, but at the same time, is this gonna make me concerned about the Packers defense? No. I think they're going to figure it out, but those 3 guys not present. And then a few guys who are injured. Zach Tom has that pec injury. He is still out, probably won't be back till around training camp, Packers said last week. Lucas Van Ness, who was practicing last week, was riding this stationary bike. So not sure what's going on with Lucas Van Ness. And then Keaton Oladapo also not practicing. And then Josh Jacobs had a hamstring injury. He was on the sideline last week doing sprints, wasn't participating. Matt LaFleur talked about how it's not a very big situation or bad situation for the hamstring for Jacobs, but he took he had some progress made today, and he was participating in individual drills, so that is a move in the right direction for him. At first, he wasn't playing in the team drills, but then a little later he was at about 20% per Andy Herman. So that's a good sign. Hamstring injuries, they worry me. They concern me because they flare up a lot with guys like we've seen Christian Watson. But it seems that Jacobs is moving in the right direction. The Packers are probably being safe too. You don't want to have one of your newest players who you bring in this offseason as a free agent end up unnecessarily hurting himself. Then here we have from Andy Herman the 11-on-11 starters. First off, on defense, we have Cox, defensive end, Slayton, Wyatt, interior defensive lineman, and then Enagbare, the other defensive end. And as I already said, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, 2 Packers defensive ends, were not at practice, so that's why that is what the starters look like. And then Lucas Van Ness will be the 3rd guy, also not practicing because seemingly some kind of injury. There should be news about that later. I don't have it currently about exactly what that is for Lucas Van Ness. Then at linebacker, we have Quay Walker, McDuffie, and then Wilson. And so Edgerrin Cooper still not with the starters, but according to Andy Herman, both Bullard, who did not start at safety, Anthony Johnson Jr., and Xavier McKinney started at safety once again, as was the case last week at the open practice. And then Bullard and Cooper quickly rotated in on defense. And so my guess would be, as we go through these OTAs, minicamp, training camp, that we're going to see Bullard, I think, be the 2nd starting safety with Xavier McKinney, and then Edgerrin Cooper push in to become one of the starters at linebacker. My guess would be, when the Packers are in their nickel defense with 2 linebackers, it will be Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper once the season starts, because the Packers spent a 2nd rounder on Edgerrin Cooper, and I feel like he's probably the best outside of Quay that the Packers have there on defense. And then another one is Colby Wooden was working at defensive end. He, of course, was playing on the interior last year, so getting some work outside there as well. Then from Wes Hodquist, he said that Dontavian Wicks made a nice catch, 15-plus yards over the middle. And I think Wicks is a guy that could really take a big jump this year. The question I have is just the receiver snaps, and because there's so many talented receivers here, it's going to be tough for anyone to really take over the majority share. I think there's so many talented receivers. One day, one guy has a big day. Next week, another guy has a big day, which I think is a fine problem, as we've discussed lots here. Then from Andy Herman, we have Bo Melton catching everything today, you said, making some nice plays. And then Edgerrin Cooper had a fast blitz inside, got some praise from the coaches. And that's one thing Edgerrin Cooper in college seemed to do well, watching some of his stuff back from college. That ability to blitz the quarterback, which I think both him and Quay Walker have. So new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley is going to have an ability to bring those guys in different kinds of ways. Then Wes Hodkwitz, Corey Ballantyne got a look at nickel with the twos, the second team on defense. Corey Ballantyne mainly, I don't know if he played any snaps at nickel last year, maybe a few, but mainly outside corner last year. The Packers dealt with some injuries, with Stokes down, with Jair down at times, Carrington Valentine, Corey Ballantyne, two younger players, got a ton of look at outside corner. The Packers bring back Ballantyne this offseason, and he's getting a look at nickel, which is interesting. Then from Andy Herman, he did say, which I mentioned earlier, Josh Jacobs did some walkthroughs in the teams. He said about 20%. I guess that's the speed they were going at. And so as I said, Josh Jacobs making some progress, which you love to see. Then Ryan Wood said this, Christian Watson just went Allen Iverson on Keyshawn Nixon. Broken ankles to the ground on a check down screen in the left flat. Nixon got up and walked away impressed. And that's the ability that we all know Christian Watson has. When he's fully healthy, he's playing at the top of his game. I really do think he could be the Packers' best receiver if he's fully healthy. He has that ability just because there's not many players in the NFL, wide receiver built like Christian Watson. He had one of the highest relative athletic scores like all time. He's like 6'4", runs an insane 40, I think like 4.36. And so when you have that build, when you're healthy, I mean, it's tough to stop Christian Watson. So Watson making some nice plays. Let's hope that hamstring holds up, which I feel like it's going to, hopefully. Then we have from Andy Herman, we have Sean Ryan was getting some reps at center, which is interesting. And actually, to go back, when I did the 11-on-11 starters, I forgot to mention the offense, which I will go back to right now. The biggest thing I'm interested in there is the offensive line. We, of course, have Jordan Love at quarterback. No surprise there. A.J. Dillon, running back, and then Henry Pearson also out there. I see a squirrel coming towards my car. Interesting, doesn't usually happen during my videos. Then we got Ben Sims at tight end, and then Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson at receiver. And then here is the offensive line. Remember, Elton Jenkins was not at practice. Zach Tom has a pec injury, so both of those guys out of the equation. So Rasheed Walker, left tackle. Jordan Morgan, first rounder, left guard. That's a first, I think, that I've seen of him playing left guard. He started at right tackle last time behind Andre Dillard. Josh Myers, center. Sean Ryan, right guard. And then Andre Dillard, who the Packers brought in this offseason at right tackle. And so with Elton Jenkins gone, Morgan gets a chance at left guard. And Morgan has that ability to play tackle and guard. He got some snaps at right tackle last week, left tackle as well, and now guard. And so once everyone's healthy, everyone's here. As I think when training camp comes around, we'll get a better idea of like who the starting five will be. Right now, they're just trying everyone everywhere. The ones that have stayed the same so far is Walker at left tackle, Myers center, Sean Ryan right guard. Dillard did start at right tackle last time. But when Zach Tom comes back, he should take over that right tackle job. But Morgan could maybe move to left tackle, right tackle. Who knows? We're just keeping an eye on it. They're trying these guys at tons of different positions. And then to end it off here, some field goal, some kicker information from Matt Schneidman. Carlson went 6 of 7 today. Pretty solid. Missed a 51-yarder, but did make a 46-yarder. And so we're hoping that Carlson can take those steps forward, become consistent. He was one of the worst kickers stat-wise last season, and the Packers brought in veteran Greg Joseph because of Carlson's struggles, and Greg Joseph was not kicking today. So no stats for him. And then Jack Podlesny, the other kicker on the roster, went 3 of 7. So not a great day for him. Then the 2-minute drill, Love goes 2 of 4. There was a drop by Dontavian Wicks on a difficult catch, I think I read from Ryan Wood. And then multiple beat reporters were sharing that Michael Pratt, 7th round QB, was making a ton of nice throws. So he has a chance to take over for Sean Clifford as the backup. Clifford does have a year under his belt, knows the system better, most likely at this point. But Pratt making some nice plays, so maybe he could push Clifford for the number 2 job. We'll keep an eye on that one. And then final thing I have here is Kingsley Enagbare had a nice pass breakup, and so he seems to be healthy. There was fears that he had an ACL tear, came out he actually didn't, which is great news. So that is pretty much the update for today from my car. Who knows when I'll be back in my normal setup, because if you guys are new here, I'm typically not sitting in my car, but it works. I'm using my phone. Things are working. Hopefully this posts quickly, and I should probably end it so that way it's not any longer. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.